He's a time waster.
And the commentary was, that's just how the game is played. It's all about demonstration of hustle overall. So when it all hits the fan, as long as you're ready to hustle and be gritty, and I'm like,
Yeah, I'm
no,
never
what
doing
you're
that.
what you're saying is just, in all deference to those who say that, it's just stupid.
Everyone wants to leave a legacy of positivity in the world around them. Whether you are a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, a nonprofit executive director, or even a soon-to-be entrepreneur, one fact is always true. The easiest and most effective way to catalyze change in the world around you is through commerce and through business. But how do you do it? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Changemakers Collective, a place where people can come and get educated and encouraged and empowered to be the impact agent in the world around them. Brought to you by Silverback Ventures, Steph Thomas and Scott Woods have over 50 years combined experience helping companies and owners amplify the voice and multiply the impact of purpose-driven businesses. Join us each week as we discuss what it means to live a life of purpose on purpose.
Welcome back to Changemakers Collective. We're super excited that you're with us. We ask that you like us and subscribe and share us. My name is Steph, and this is...
I'm Scott. It's good to see everybody.
We're going to talk about
Not really
wisdom.
see everybody, but see everybody. Yes, we're glad you're here.
We see you. We're going to talk about wisdom over hustle.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of hustle in us.
Yeah, and I think we live in a society that values and has used the word hustle in ways that can be detrimental. And I think that's what we're trying to talk about. We're trying to talk about, one, listen to our last episode about legacy and about understanding how to actually live a life of purpose on purpose. And I think the hustle culture that we've find ourselves in is often the antithesis of a space that gains wisdom. And we don't want to be in a spot where we are growing for growth's sake. We want to be in a spot where we're growing for impact's sake. And we live in a society where, and that, we all live there, so we helped create it, that it is about, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? We're in a crazy technological revolution that is growing exponentially every moment of the day. How do we as individuals and as business owners navigate that so that we don't get swept up in the hustle of it and burn ourselves out and get into a point where we're just on the hamster wheel with everybody else?
As we talk about this, I'm a big time blocker, right?
You are a big time blocker.
And
often a blocker of time.
I am a blocker of time. But I'm not a time waster most of the time.
No, most of the time not.
And I think about that when we're talking about, wisdom over hustle, right? Are you moving to be moving? Or are you moving to accomplish things? And what does the Navy say? And slow is fast and fast is smooth, or
yes,
or
slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
There you go. I'm sorry, Navy folks, that I did that wrong. Kudos to you. But I mean, sometimes you have to work on your business while you're working in your business, and just using wisdom, right? So just because you're out making 20,000 phone calls, if 0 of the 20,000 phone calls get you closer to your goal, stop making the 20,000 phone calls.
Come on. I actually almost got let go from a job, and this was years and years and years and years and years ago. I was working for a CPA firm, and the counterpart that sat next to me was notorious for coming in basically 2 minutes after we were supposed to be there, goofing off until lunchtime, taking an hour and a half long lunch, and then he would have to stay later in order to get his job done.
So the boss sees you early, out late.
The boss sees that, oh, well, this person's just grinding it out. They've got grit and they've got hustle. Meanwhile, they're doing half as much work. Now, I had a wife and a new baby at home, and I was like, look, I'm coming in, getting my stuff done in the most efficient way possible, and I'm moving on. So when they brought me in and said, you just got to, hustle more. And I'm like, well, hold on. If we actually compare the output, I'm doing twice as much as this guy, but he just happens to be here when the partners are leaving.
He's a time waster.
And the commentary was, that's just how the game is played. It's all about demonstration of hustle overall. So when it all hits the fan, as long as you're ready to hustle and be gritty, and I'm like,
yeah, I'm never doing that.
What you're saying is just, in all deference to those who say that, it's just stupid.
Scott, you and I have very different work hours.
That's true. That's true.
For those that don't know, I'm more like a 3 o'clock, 4 a.m. starter. Scott, I don't know.
Is not going to be getting up at 3 a.m. to do my work.
However, you can get the best out of me from that time until about 12, 1 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I'm like, Scott, I'm not making decisions. And I mean, we joke about that because on the flip side of that is sometimes I am not available when the normal person, not normal, that's not fair. When
the 9 to
someone,
5ers.
right. Yeah. And I'm just absolutely not going to have a phone call at 5, 6, 7 o'clock. Like you don't want me to do that. So wisdom says that I block off time, I do those things, and then I allow myself to have some boundaries around it. I could push through that, right? And I could meet people, because now I have time, right? If I'm finishing my work day at 1 o'clock, well, then I have from 1 to 5 where I could be having dinners and having lunch and making phone calls. But it wouldn't be productive because my mindset, I would make more mistakes from the 1 to 5 than I ever would if I did it before. So there's something in working in the time frame that you should be working in when you have the best, and not just being busy and staying late and falling asleep on your drive home when it doesn't produce anything.
Yeah, hustle is not a business strategy.
Let's define hustle as a business strategy. How would we define that?
Well, it's not a business strategy. Hustle in and of itself is you're grinding it out and you're going at 100 miles an hour in 100 different directions all the time. And you are going to do the things. You're going to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and work until 2 o'clock in the morning just to get the work done. In the anticipation that grinding, that hustle is going to produce more than if you just had the boundaries and worked in a concentrated manner in a smaller amount of time.
So we were talking about hustle, and we invited Kristen from Novice Studios to kind of sit down, and we are totally going off script here. So just let's roll.
We're rolling, baby. Let's go.
Okay, so we were talking about hustle, and we were talking about just being busy, right? And Kristen, you were in a position maybe 3-4 months ago where you were hustling. I mean, you were doing the things, right? You were calling the people, and how many hours a day were you actually working?
I think I would have self-reported I was working a regular 40-hour work week, but it was probably closer to a 70 to 80-hour work week, 7 days a week.
And you have a young child.
I do have a young child.
And how much time were you probably mommying?
My husband was taking on a lot on the weekends and managing that, or trying to support me in going to bed early by taking him in the evening. So I wasn't spending nearly as much quality time with my son as I wanted to.
So you're working 70 hours. You have less quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
And how many new clients were you bringing in regularly?
It was slow.
And the dream team over here.
Yes.
If I must say
we are
so
going
myself.
to break our arms patting ourselves on the back on this one.
Suggested that you hire somebody. And
Yes.
what was your knee-jerk reaction?
Heck no. How am I supposed to pay for that and be responsible? And that sounds like next level business stuff I'm not ready for. I was very resistant.
But you were hustling.
I was. Mm-hmm.
And how many mistakes were you making?
Wow, you're just calling around. So all of your podcast clients previous to the hiring of the new staff, we apologize
Right.
for the
And when I
mistakes.
say mistakes, though, Kristen, like
little things that you wouldn't, if to your point, if you weren't tired, if you weren't working around the clock, if you weren't trying to cram as many deliverables into a day as you could, it's more mistakes than I make now.
So when we said, "Hey, man, we need you to slow down so you can speed up. We need you to not look back and say, I sacrificed my time with my husband and my children." We literally had those conversations because the importance was to grow your business.
Yeah.
But the sacrifice, would it have been worth your sacrifice in the end?
Well, it comes back to the conversation we just had about eulogy virtues versus resume virtues, right? You're not going to get to the end of your life and say, I wish I would have worked more.
Right.
You're just not. So how do we tailor and curate your workflow so that you're working to live, not living to work, and having enough time in your day to be able to do both your work stuff, which you love, but also being able to be with your family, which you also love.
Right. So there was an illusion of purpose. There was an illusion
Yes.
of success.
And to both of your points earlier in the episode, well, actually in the legacy episode, of if this business goes away, that's what I put my whole blood, sweat, and tears to. Like, did I even exist in this lifetime? And I feel like a lot of my identity was wrapped up in the success of my business as well. Versus now I measure success by like how much free time do I get back? Like, even as you guys are talking, I'm thinking, oh, I should delegate this to my full-time team member. And this is something I could train her up to do. And then as a leader, you know, keeping that line of conversation open of, okay, is this too much for one person even, which it was too much for me as one person. So there will definitely be a ceiling cap there. And then what's next for growth after that?
I think that's so cool that you said that because when we were talking about, we as Silverback talking to Novice Studios about, hey, okay, how do we grow your business? We were talking about you really had a heart as a leader to train her up to be her best. Now, ideally, she is going to so love Novice Studios that she would never leave. But if she did leave, then she would be armed with so much knowledge that you would leave a legacy of podcasting and media marketing and digital content that you didn't take on the, well, I can't give her all the information because she's going to steal it and run. That's a great leadership thought.
Well, and that's a sign of a mature leader where it is not about you. It's about those around you, and it's about transference of knowledge and wisdom so that you can actually solve the problem, not just so that you can pat yourself on the back and say you're the smartest person in the room.
Right.
You know, we talk about, and I just read an article that was talking about we should emulate firefighters. Like we always say in our business as leaders, how are you doing today? Oh man, I'm just fighting fires all day long. Well, if you actually fought fires like firefighters do, you wouldn't have any of those problems because they practice the crazy. They practice the unknown. They practice for the eventuality of something going wrong. So when we talk about in our conversations with our clients about pressure testing, you have to go through the process of saying, when it all hits the fan, you have to plan for that. And the only way to do that is to have a built-in slowness.
Right.
And a built-in time to think about where is it my business going to break down, whether it's on the growth side or on the scarcity side. Where are those systems going to break down? And we talk about it with you guys all the time. Like, okay, if we want to go from level 1 to level 6, what's going to break? It's not about how many more do we have to get from a client standpoint. It's okay, we can do that, but if our systems are not ready for it, we're going to do more harm than we are good.
So I think that's great because we again, Silverback took Novice Studios through a what if type of situation. And if you had quadrupled your clientele that day, would you have, now this is not today because now you could quadruple today and
You have
we'd be okay.
You have the process in place.
Right.
That's correct.
But back when we started talking, if we had quadrupled that day, could you have had a sustainable business?
No, because it was already not sustainable as it was. When we did the time analysis, it was basically like, okay, your cap is 4 clients. And I was like, oh, no wonder I'm overwhelmed. We have 8.
Right. And
Well, and I think, hang on, because I think you can even hear it in your voice that is somewhat of a point of pride. Like, yeah, I was handling 8 when I really should only be handling 4. And I think that goes back to, and that's not a bad thing,
right.
but I think it's a mindset we have to, as business owners, we have to keep in check because you don't want your pride in I'm doing things that most people can't do because I'm just grinding it out. That's the whole idea. Let's use wisdom over the hustle culture to say, that's great. Good job. Take a breath. Let's never do that again.
Right.
And, you know, also with the story you were telling earlier about the illusion of hustle versus actually being efficient in your work time. If I have a culture where I'm working late nights, all of a sudden my employees feel pressured to work late nights. Now they're tired and not showing up to their full capabilities and not living their life as they should because they're young and have energy. So go out and do fun things. And so I also have to be really strict when I'm working on, you know, if I'm doing my planning on a Sunday morning and I send an email, the expectation is not that you reply to that email. That's just when I'm doing this planning session and just being really, really firm about that. And we started implementing last week a daily stand-up where one of the questions is, are there any deadlines on the calendar that need to be moved? Because I want to encourage that communication for somebody to say, hey, you know, I had this on my plate. This other thing popped up. What can we shift around? Because things can be shifted around as long as we're communicating about it. And so that's something that I want to foster. The goal is, well, you know, there are 5 deadlines today, so figure it out and do what you need to do.
Yeah, my wife's experiencing that right now where it's a just figure it out kind of mentality. And not in her role. Her organization is fantastic, but she's hearing it across the board like, okay, well, you know, you just have to figure it out. And she's coaching another individual through that to say, all right, that's not good leadership. Let us go from a position of valuing killing ourselves to get the work done to a position where we recognize the work as what it is and efficiently design our workflows to get the maximum amount of capacity and throughput through your business. And that's something we talk about all the time. You have to get a capacity building system, and then you can recognize the markers where you go, okay, I now have, in the case of Novice Studios, I've now got a dozen clients. It's time to hire somebody because I can't get to 13 unless I have another person.
Well, and Scott, I think that, and that's, again, Kristen, thanks for being so transparent. But I think that's a mindset. Like I keep coming back to mindset. If Kristen wasn't falling apart, I mean, she was running the business and she was doing the thing, right? 100%. She was taking on more clients. And on the outside, she looked well placed.
And people were telling me that. And I was like, oh, if you only knew what was happening on the inside.
Well, and that was the hard conversation. Because when you and I were having a conversation and you were like, oh, Jack's sick. And, I stayed up till 12 and this is deadline. And I was like, wait a minute. I think, and this is not I just pulled this out of the sky. When we're having conversations with people, because much like the analogy of the frog in the boiling water. You're excited about your business, so you bootstrap your business and you're doing the stuff, and slowly you are becoming successful and you're taking on more and more and more and more and more. And you don't realize that, man, if I just hired one person, that I could, now you've added more people, you have more clients, but in the beginning, when we started having the conversation, you were like, well, I can't afford to hire anybody right now. I mean, I'm doing it all and I'm successfully doing it. You need sometimes an outsider to say, you are working to be working. Like it doesn't have to be that hard.
Yeah.
Let's use some wisdom. Let's put some guidelines in place. Let's make some processes and then let's pressure test it. So you have now hired a full-time person, you have a part-time person, but I just heard you say we're tweaking our processes constantly. I'm building in psychological safety and we're still failing the pressure test. That's why we're having an okay conversation about moving deadlines.
The cool thing about that as we wrap up is that mindset change is now building in time to have the OODA loop conversations. Let's actually understand what the impact of our decision was. Let's understand where those critical paths are to grow our business, and let's fill those gaps and create those processes that we need to. So as you go out and you think about what's next, build in, and this is going to sound some kind of way for all of you hustlers, build in some thinking time to continuously give yourself and your business and solicit feedback to understand where are those pressure points that if you doubled or tripled or 10x'd overnight, where things would break down. That is the basis of wisdom, and the basis of wisdom and getting a base of wisdom will help you grow your business in an exponential way rather than an incremental way. So have an amazing day. Live a life of purpose on purpose.
Thank you for listening to the Changemakers Collective. If you've enjoyed this episode, please help us grow our community by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or rating us on Spotify.
You can also find our podcast on YouTube, so you can come and leave us a comment over there as well. If you want support growing your business and scaling your vision, visit us at silverbackventures.org or connect with us on LinkedIn.
Thanks again, and we'll see you on our next episode.